Hey everyone, I'm Stacey Epstein, and this is AI've Got Questions. Last season, I had such a great time talking to founders of marketing focused AI technology companies. But this season, we're doing things a little bit differently. I'm sitting down with some of the most highly respected CMOs and learning about how they are leveraging AI in their organizations so that you can learn it too. Let's hear who's next. Today on the podcast, I am very thrilled to have Sara Varni. Sara and I go way back. We worked together back when we were little peons. You were at Salesforce and I was at ServiceMax's when we met. Gosh, probably at least a decade ago, if not more.
Yeah,
But always just had a great time interacting with you and working with you. And then we randomly see each other on every random vacation. There's Sarah again in the
that's true.
airport. Well, there's Sarah. Our kids are at the same sleepaway soccer camp. So
Yeah.
our lives seem very intertwined, but I am happy to have you on the show. You're such a well-respected voice within marketing, but also just such a down-to-earth, cool person. So I know you're going to share a lot of cool stuff with us today. But let's start. Give me a little overview of your journey and how you got to Datadog.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm Sara Varni. I've been in marketing software roles for almost 20 years now. Started my career in at Salesforce and worked there for about 11 years. Started when the company was about 1,000 people, and when I left, it was about 26,000. Huge
Crazy.
period of growth for the company. Super lucky to be there. Learned a ton, and then from there went to be the CMO of Twilio, and now I'm the CMO at Datadog. So I've been at Datadog for about 2 years, and we are one of the leaders in cloud observability. So totally different space than both Twilio and Salesforce, but having a lot of fun and helping to scale the marketing org here.
Awesome. Well, obviously a great career to date. And I'm excited to talk because I feel like a lot of my guests so far have been smaller companies, startups and fast growing small teams. How do you get your team going? It's so different for bigger companies and companies at scale. So I can't wait to hear about how you've been thinking about AI and what you've been doing on your own team to use AI to help you move faster. Tell me about what is AI like in Sara Varney's org.
Yeah. So I am leading a team that is, trying to leverage AI more in their day to day. We're also selling AI products to our customers. So we've kind of got a foot in both worlds. And I think from a marketing perspective, from the top at Datadog down, there's been an ask to really think about your headcount, your program spend, and before you ask for another headcount, can you prove that what you're asking for couldn't be done with AI or couldn't be made more productive with AI? And so I think that that's been a good test as I've been thinking about how I want to structure my ask if I have a finite set of headcount. And let me be clear, we're not eliminating roles. This is all about making our team overall more productive. But, when I looked at my brand team, for example, which is always a place of scrutiny for, I'm not telling a CMO or a brand leader anything they don't know. It's always going to be a place of scrutiny because it's harder to tie to directly to pipeline. And when I started to pull the list of tickets and the list of activities that our brand team was focused on, I recognized that 30% of their time was being spent on just resizing ads. And that is stuff that needs to get done, but it's not really moving our brand forward.
Right.
And so, that seemed like a super right place to start and think about, all right, how can we take those tickets off my brand team's plate? Who no one likes to work on that. And think about a tool like Adobe Firefly to move faster so that we can spend more time working on our event creative or working on our new website design. And so that's been a place that I've really tried to think. All right, are the tools out there? Do they exist, and are they good enough right now to be held up to our brand standard? And I think they're getting better and better every day. So that's kind of been my high level approach.
We've had people on the show that have pulled the team together and done a hackathon and listed all of the things. One of the approaches that I loved was pull the team together and everybody list all the things they hate doing and that slows them down, and then see if there's a way that AI can solve that. And that was their approach to find where the areas of the org that we can automate. How do you decide what to go after? after as it relates to AI?
On our team, we've gone about it a couple different ways. We've had like a bottoms up approach, and we have an AI council that people can opt into that are just passionate about the topic, and they meet twice a month, and it's a wide range of people across the team. I think that was the most interesting for me to see, like, oh my gosh, this is happening across demand gen, video, product marketing, across the board. There are people that are interested and are doing super cool things. So that was kind of the opt in method. Then we had more of a tops down approach, and we hosted an AI hackathon. Everyone submitted ideas that where people could join teams. We didn't do the thing you most hate, but I love that
Yeah,
approach.
me
Maybe
too.
we'll use that next time.
Yep.
But we had a lot of cross-functional teams come together. I think we had over 21 projects that were ultimately pitched, and some of them were really cool. Like, for example, tracking down logos that are approved for usage. So that data lives across a couple different systems, and now with a simple prompt, you can figure out, all right, I can use the American Express logo here, but not there. And it was just something that was, taking at least like 30 to 45 minutes per ask for a team. And now, you can do that self-serve. So it was really cool to see some of the projects that came across the line. And we just did kind of a month post, a month later kind of check in, and some of them are still, some of them fizzle out, as that always happens with hackathons, but a lot of them are still have legs and are starting to move more towards like production level use cases for us. So I love the hackathon idea, and I think it's something we'll try to do a couple times a year.
So you have an advisory group you mentioned, or task force, and that's within marketing.
Yes,
And you just
within
said,
marketing.
"Hey, let's get some people that are passionate." And do they decide what gets done, or are they pushing new ideas? How does that all work? And do they
It's
work
not
with
mainly like they do where they need approval, but it's largely an idea sharing forum, and then uh I have a chief of staff who leads it, and if there are ideas that the team sees value in sharing more broadly, we'll bring it to a marketing all hands and share, how this person's doing XYZ with whatever tooling, so that it doesn't just stay in that person's head or in the room of the AI council, but it's shared team wide. So that's just been a good way to capture what people are researching, what people are learning about, and get it out to the broader audience.
Yeah. Do you have a philosophy around using AI for content generation? Do you guys have a big content strategy?
We have an interesting setup for content here, as we sell to a very technical audience. And so a lot of the like volume of content is actually developed out of our community advocacy team. And to be honest, we haven't used a lot of AI as it relates to content yet. I think one thing you see is for any software company that's smart right now, existing player is figuring out how they bake AI into their current application. And I think one thing we debate internally is, am I better off with getting this add-on product to our existing solution? Or do I go with the purpose-built AI native who really has thought about this scenario from the ground up? For example, we use Sprout Social to distribute our social content, and they have AI tooling baked in within the writing experience to help optimize posts. I know that there are standalone content companies that do that really well, like a Writer or a Jasper. And so I think you have to debate how important is that function to your team overall, and how much is that domain experience going to really level what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's such an interesting debate. I feel like my own opinion has evolved. When Gen AI came out, I was like, this is it. Salesforce is dead. All the legacy SaaS vendors, even Freshworks, where I came, they're going to be completely replaced by these new native AI solutions. And then I've kind of come around that, first of all, it's such a noisy landscape of like quote native AI tools. And companies, especially larger companies like yours, are so invested in their existing stack that it's like, why would you just throw it all out if you could get some great AI capabilities from your existing vendor that you already are so invested in? What's your take on like legacy SaaS versus native AI?
I think it just depends. Like I'll keep the vendors nameless, but we're evaluating two like GEO AEO options right now for us, and one is an add-on to an existing tool we already use. AI native, really purpose built for GEO AEO. I think that there are pluses and minuses. Like the incumbent, I will say. Like, obviously, we work with them. We're even like stupid tactical things, but a big company is important. They're like setup and procurement.
Yeah,
Like that's a
totally.
hassle. Like if you need to get moving,
Totally.
that's a big pain.
Yep.
So there's just kind of like, that inertia you're kind of fighting against. And, I think they're largely getting things right, but there is a little sparkle on this other player. And we're doing kind of a bake off between the two to just see like where they really shine and where they don't. And you can see in the AI native that they're really purpose built for this new kind of world of search. And so I think you just kind of have to figure out again the Sprout Social scenario. We can get by fine with someone who kind of does it as a side hustle because we don't do a ton of that.
Yeah.
But search is a big fundamental thing for us and we really need to nail it. So I think I give a second look for sure to AI natives when it's going to be something that's really high leverage, high impact for us.
So fascinating. I would love to be like on the inside of your eval, see like get an inside look at those tools. I've had a couple of the AEO. It sounds like we're getting a name for it eventually. Is it
Yes.
AEO, GEO? I don't know. It'll settle into something one of these days. So fascinating. I mean, that's the exact dilemma that I think every company is in. And I think these legacy vendors, they have to move fast and get to those capabilities quickly
Yep.
or they won't be around.
Yeah, for
Another
sure.
debate I would love for you to weigh in on. There's, I think, this impression that now's the time to be at a small company because you can build your stack with native AI from the ground up. You don't have legacy vendors. I mean, even depending on your size, you can even go with like a native AI CRM. I had Patrick Thompson from Clarify on my show, 100% native CRM, which is built in a completely different way. And so I think there's this line of thinking that the smaller companies have competitive advantage. And it also kind of goes with careers too. There's a lot of this feeling of like, oh, if you're a SaaS marketer or you're somehow like old school, you need to be in the weeds doing native AI marketing, or you're going to just be replaced by some recent college graduate who just finished studying AI in college. What's your take on all of these like topics?
I mean, I think it's always been true, right? Like we started in SaaS when SaaS was cool and there was probably like the like on-prem people at the time were like felt the same way. So I think it's like all those dynamics like exist whether or not we're in this AI era or not. Like you have more flexibility at a small company to try new tools and swap stuff in and maybe it's more exaggerated now when this pace of innovation is really seems to be revving up. And so you might feel like you're missing out even more. But I do think it's a little bit, not to get into personal career advice, but it's a little bit dependent on what interests you and what motivates you. And there's also really interesting challenges to fix at scale too with some of these tools. And so I don't look at it as like, oh gosh, I can't innovate or I can't like be disruptive because I am at a large organization now. I think about it more as like, wow, I could actually do the reverse too. And like now I've got this tooling that could help my team move even faster than it has before. It's easier to kind of get up and running, test it out, and it's not going to take this 6-month deployment and all these consultants to make it running. A lot of the software is, I think, being built at enterprise grade from the get-go too. And so in that sense, I don't think it's like a big company, small company thing. I'm always optimistic, but I see a lot of opportunity in this era, and I think it's just a matter of unblocking my team so that they can try some of these things out in a way that still works for a company the size of Datadog.
Yeah. When you're hiring, how much importance do you put on AI experience?
I honestly don't put a ton, just because it would be pretty limited in terms. There's not that many people that are deep AI experts at this point. Of course, there's specialization that we need in certain functions if we're hiring for particular product marketing roles or places where we really need people to understand the category. But I more sort for who's hungry to try new things, to experiment, to always be learning. I want to bring people on that are not like, oh my God, like I just want to make sure I have like job security forever and I'm just going to do things the way they've been done for the last however many years. I want people who are always thinking about, hey, how can I like move faster? How can I push my team or elevate my team. And I think it's going to be very hard to do that without some conversation around AI
Yeah.
in the coming years.
I do think, and I'm consulting now and I have multiple different clients. And I do think there is this perception that everybody else is doing just a ton of AI all over the place, and people have completely changed their entire marketing function to be only AI. I think the reality of that is much, much different. And you get inside these teams and they're still just doing the basic. So, for our listeners who feel like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing all this amazing AI stuff, I mean, there's still lots and lots of teams that are just getting going on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I also think there's listeners that are from bigger companies. As you acquire more companies or you have certain markets you're trying to target, you can pilot sometimes some of these new technologies within a smaller entity of your company and then say, hey, look, it's working. It didn't break over here. Let's bring it to the mothership and really kind of scale it. And it's not to use them as like a guinea pig, but it's going to be easier to do maybe on a smaller product line or something that's less complicated. And then you can say, hey, let's prove it out, to a larger extent.
You mentioned the brand team. Are you using it in any other areas? Are you using any of the SDR, AI SDR functionality or the AGI?
We are we are not using any of that tooling today. I don't the SDR function sits with sales, but I know even within sales, they're not leveraging really any of that tooling yet. That's not to say we won't, but I do think, yeah, I think it's interesting working for a developer or engineering focused brand. I think there's a hesitation in general for someone to get to a website and they've got 7 chat messages going and, just feel like they're kind of being chased down. So they can sniff out that experience pretty quickly. So I think we have to be careful about how we apply it. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen. I definitely think we should be exploring all those avenues, but I think you still have to do it in a way that's very helpful and not over salesy for that audience. Like, hey, we saw you're doing this. Here's some documentation that can help you versus like, hey, I'm, Joe SDR, your friendly helper. Do you want to set up meetings? It's all about how we would use it and making sure it's with the right approach because I think our audience is generally pretty cynical when it comes to any sort of marketing or
Yeah.
sales tactic.
Yeah, I would think that engineering or developer audience would appreciate some of the newer tools around being able to use a prompt to get answers without having to
Yes.
talk to a salesperson, right? So we talked to Ovation Video about you could just put your entire library of all your videos ever and then let your prospects just type in a prompt, a question, and it'll go and then it'll serve up like, oh, here's the answer to that question in a video. You never had to talk to a salesperson. Your audience would be eager to do something like that and avoid the human sales rep.
I think you're right, and I think scenarios like that would be what we would prioritize as we think about uh just more of that agent functionality, but more of the traditional SDR follow-up. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's happening in the near term for us.
Yeah, again, I think it's one of those things where everybody talks about it, but I'm not sure it's actually happening in practice in a lot of places. I think that assisting SDRs with next best step and all the information at their fingertips and okay, given everything we know about this customer and what they've done so far, here's exactly what you should say and do. I think that's
Yeah.
more the norm versus like AGI following up with your customers.
Yeah, like real-time discovery prompts.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, any other cool examples of AI that you're using?
There's always so much that I don't know, and I'm, constantly trying to talk to colleagues and, learn what's working for other people, because I know we're just starting to scratch the
I
surface.
know it's an exciting time. We all are trying to go to dinners and events and we can all
Yeah.
learn from each other. All right. Well, it has been great to hear from you. Thank you so much. I'll
Yeah.
check in with you again and I want to hear which vendor you picked for your
Oh, yeah,
AEO.
we can take that offline, I'll let you know.
Exactly, exactly. I want the inside baseball on that one.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining
Alright.
me today, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.